Hello and welcome back to Outside Views. Today we're going to take a deep dive into how Brexit came about and the consequences that followed. The road to Brexit was long, filled with political turmoil, misinformation and broken promises. And 5 years after leaving the EU, the impact is clearer than ever. It all began with a referendum that changed the course of British history. On June 23rd in 2016, 52% of British voters chose to leave the European Union. With a turnout of 72.2%, it was one of the most significant democratic exercises in UK history. The key issues in the Brexit debate centered on immigration, sovereignty, economic independence, and dissatisfaction with the political establishment. But Brexit was not just about policy. It was deeply emotional, dividing families, communities, and political parties. The campaign leading up to the vote was driven by strong, often misleading messages. Brexit supporters, including the Leave campaign, UKIP, and key figures in the Conservative Party, claimed that the UK would regain control over its borders, laws, and economy. And a central argument was the infamous £350 million per week for the NHS claim, which suggested that money sent to the EU could instead fund the UK's struggling healthcare system. This was later debunked, but by then the message had already influenced many voters. And media played a massive role in shaping public opinion. For years, much of the British press, particularly right-wing tabloids owned by media mogul Rupert Murdoch, fueled anti-EU sentiment. Headlines blamed the EU for everything from high immigration to excessive regulations. The idea of taking back control resonated with many, especially in regions that felt left behind by globalization and economic change. The referendum's outcome was a shock. Even many Leave campaigners did not expect to win. The next day, Prime Minister David Cameron resigned, admitting that he had miscalculated the risks of holding a referendum. His successor, Theresa May, struggled to navigate the Brexit negotiations, facing resistance from all sides. Brexit negotiations proved to be more difficult than anyone had anticipated, and the UK formally triggered Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty in March 2017, starting a 2-year countdown to exit. However, divisions in Parliament, conflicting demands, and a lack of clear direction led to repeated delays. May's Brexit deal, which aimed to maintain close ties with the EU while leaving its political institutions, was rejected multiple times by Parliament. The political chaos led to the rise of Boris Johnson, a staunch Brexit supporter who promised to get Brexit done. His approach was far more aggressive. He renegotiated the withdrawal agreement, replacing the backstop with the Northern Ireland Protocol, which effectively created a trade barrier between Northern Ireland and the rest of the United Kingdom. And despite this, he pushed the deal through, and on January 31st in 2020, the UK officially left the EU. But what happened since Brexit? Economically, the impact has been severe. Trade with the EU, which once accounted for nearly half of the UK's exports, has declined. A study by the Centre for Inclusive Trade Policy found that UK exports to the EU fell by £3 billion per year. Small businesses that once relied on frictionless trade with Europe now face bureaucracy, higher costs, and reduced market access. The financial sector, a crucial part of the UK economy, has also suffered. 40,000 finance jobs have relocated from London to EU cities like Frankfurt, Paris, and Dublin. The UK's status as a global financial hub has weakened, and new regulatory barriers have made it harder for firms to operate across Europe. And the cost of living crisis has been exacerbated by Brexit. Import delays, supply chain disruptions, and currency devaluation have led to rising prices for consumers. Food prices alone have increased by an estimated 25%, with Brexit adding an average of £210 per household in extra costs per year. Supermarket shortages have become common, especially in perishable goods like fresh vegetables and dairy products. And immigration, one of the biggest concerns during the Brexit campaign, has not played out as expected. While EU migration has declined, net migration to the UK has actually increased, reaching record levels. The UK's new visa system has led to more workers coming from outside the EU, especially in healthcare and social care sectors. Rather than reducing migration, Brexit has simply changed its composition. The NHS, which was supposed to benefit from Brexit, is struggling more than ever. And thousands of EU-trained doctors and nurses have left the UK, leading to severe staff shortages. Recruitment from non-EU countries has partially replaced them, but bureaucratic hurdles make it harder to fill positions quickly. The healthcare system, already under pressure from funding cuts, has seen waiting times increase and services deteriorate. And also political divisions remain deep. Despite the economic damage, joining the EU again is not on the political agenda. And in the morning, every time at the moment, you can see why it even would be hard. But Labour's Keir Starmer, who once was a strong proponent of remaining in the EU, has ruled out rejoining the single market or the customs union. He's instead focusing on improving UK-EU relations without reversing Brexit, fearing that reopening the debate would alienate voters. Public opinion, however, continues to shift. Polls show that a growing majority of Britons believe Brexit was a mistake. Despite this, there is no clear political pathway for joining the EU again. Brexit supporters continue to argue that economic struggles are due to global factors rather than Brexit itself. And meanwhile, EU leaders have made it clear that the UK would not be allowed to cherry-pick benefits without full membership. So where does the UK go from here? Economically, the country is expected to face slow growth for years to come. And without access to the single market, British businesses will continue to struggle with trade barriers. Foreign investment has declined and many sectors remain uncertain about their future. And geopolitically, Britain's influence has diminished. Once a key player in EU decision-making, the UK is now on the outside, unable to shape policies that still affect its economy and security. Attempts to forge stronger trade deals with non-EU countries have yielded little success. The much-hyped trade agreement with the USA has failed to materialize, and the deals with Australia and New Zealand, they provide minimal economic benefits. Brexit was supposed to be about taking back control, but in many ways, Britain has lost control over its economic destiny. The reality of Brexit has not lived up to the promises made in 2016. Instead of prosperity, the UK has experienced economic decline, political instability, and a loss of global standing. And the question now is, how long will it take for Britain to acknowledge the full cost of Brexit? And will political leaders ever have the courage to discuss joining the EU again? Or will the country remain stuck in a Brexit limbo? Thanks for watching Outside Views, and if you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below the video. See you next time, and the next video is already right here in the end screen.